In a world of 350 billion movie podcasts, two chumps have decided that now is the time for cult movies to engage in combat. Disagreements will be had, blood may be spilled, and voiceover artists most definitely will not be paid. This is Cult Film Face-Off.
Hello and welcome to episode 73 of Cult Film Face-Off. My name is Chet Rovers. With me as usual is Nick Leonard.
Hey Cinderella, go find yourself a fella.
This episode we're going to be looking at two thrillers from the mid-1990s which are justly or unjustly, depending on where you stand, paranoid about the imminent prevalence of the internet. Sneakers from 1993 and Hackers from 1995. Incidentally, thank you to Still Cold on YouTube for this episode suggestion. We'll start off with the first film to be released in 93, which was Sneakers, directed by Phil Alden Robinson. A small team of computer hackers who moonlight as security specialists are one day visited by operatives from the National Security Agency who task them with retrieving the Russian-made MacGuffin to end all Russian-made MacGuffins. Sneakers.
This LTX-71 concealable mic is part of the same system that NASA used when they faked the Apollo moon landings. Worked for them. Shouldn't give us too many problems.
They break and enter.
How are we doing?
Cars in position on the fire escape. Mothers in the cable vault.
Preparing to sever master circuit.
But they're not thieves.
We're getting too old for this.
They know your secrets. But they're not spies.
Gotta be there somewhere. What's he doing?
Mr. Bishop, do you mind if I take a look?
Carl, grow up.
I give you something to work, baby.
So people hire you to break into their places to make sure no one can break into their places?
It's a living.
Not a very good one.
Now they've got a new client.
National Security Agency.
I don't work for the government.
Relax, Marty. It's just everybody on your team has had some sort of problem in their past.
Now what are you saying? The NSA killed Kennedy?
No, they shot him, but they didn't kill him. He's still alive.
They may not want the job,
Liz, I need your help.
I will not be dragged back into your world.
but they don't have a choice.
We don't want to bust you. We want to hire you. We're the good guys, Marty.
Can't tell you what a relief that is, Dick.
Your job is to find that little black box.
We got it.
Holy cow. What the hell is this?
There's a war out there, old friend. A world war.
Oh my God.
How is this possible?
It's not about who's got the most bullets. It's about who controls the information.
Anybody want to shut down the Federal Reserve?
Hey, don't screw around with that thing. It's all about the information.
So it's a code breaker.
No, it's the codebreaker.
Battle stations.
Do you have the item?
Can you guarantee my safety?
Where is the item?
Can you guarantee my safety?
Martin, you've got trouble.
Here, maybe this might help. An old buddy of mine who was in Desert Storm sent it to me. Of course, he was on the other side.
Now give me the box, Marty!
I'm an excellent marksman, woman.
I'm Carl.
There's a fire escape at the end of the north corridor. Go directly north, about 30 yards.
5 seconds. Hang up, fish. Hang up. They've almost got us.
Okay, Sneakers from 1993. Had you seen this before?
Nope, first time.
You'd heard of it, I assume.
I'd heard of it, yeah. Seen the poster, seen the VHS.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Yep. Okay, how did it go down in whatever year we're in?
Well,
2019, by the way.
what a cast.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, the studio spunk some dollars on those boys.
Yeah.
Great cast. Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier, Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix. Great rapport between Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier,
I agree with
especially.
that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Really good.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, light-hearted caper film. Very undemanding.
Yep.
Overlong?
I don't disagree.
Those are my initial thoughts.
Okay.
What did you think?
Okay, I mean, this is basically a Mission Impossible.
Have you seen it before?
I saw it when I was, 13, 14.
Yeah.
Adored it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It's basically a Mission Impossible film with very, very light comedy and laid back, almost kind of family type drama. Almost like there are aspects of this that are very sitcom-like, and all of that's instead of action. But there is also very, very effective suspense. I think this film does suspense very, very well, and it is fun watching skilled people solve problems. There's one. I think one of my favourite scenes in the film is when they try and ascertain the route that the car Robert Redford was in the boot, kidnapped, the paths that it took by assessing the sound that he heard.
Yeah, that's pretty clever.
Highly, highly unlikely.
Yeah, I mean,
highly, highly satisfying as well. I think it's an old school piece of very, very efficient, very, very hard to dislike Hollywood movie making. It's the kind of thing that Robert Redford made very, very well.
Yeah, I think what I thought about it was that it takes the premise that it is. The premise here of a group of unique skilled characters all grouping together to defeat a more powerful enemy, i.e. the government.
Yeah, right.
That's basically all comic book movies.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong there. And it is very, very cheesy, but it's I can't, if you can let that slide.
Yeah.
It's very. I mean, it's a bit of a treat, to be honest. I enjoyed going back to this a lot because I haven't seen it.
You can't not like it. I mean, Redford helming the team. He's just so charming and likable. He's one of those actors. When I forgot about how Robert Redford's screen presence, he just goes and you just go, Redford.
Yeah, he's one of the. I think, to be honest, when he passes away, I think people are going to give him the respect that he deserves because he's not held in the same regard as people like Coppola, Scorsese, all the people that came to prevalence in the 70s because his sensibilities are so. Completely commercial. He's a maker of commercial films, but he pioneered the entire concept of the bromance. He kind of also pioneered kind of hangout movies. I think all of his films, particularly when you look at something like The Sting and even All the President's Men, they're about hanging out with people you enjoy being with. And I think he kind of made that, which at that point was a very, very indie prospect, made it into a. He changed cinema as much, I believe, as the people who are, the people who are always held aloft as gods of that era. I think when he passes away, we'll assess his cinematic oeuvre in a bit more detail. I mean, he pioneered tasteful, medium-budget crowd pleasers, but I mean, they did change the face of cinema. And this is as commercial as some of the films that he's most famous for. It's not on a par with those in terms of its quality, but it does have the same kind of. I think as a kid in that era, before Linklater and Tarantino and all that lot came along, I felt like this was kind of a revolutionary studio film because it was there is something very 70s about it. The fact that it is it is a plot-based thriller, but there is a lot of sequences of you just kind of hanging out. It's like a hangout film kind of.
Did you see War Games? Had you seen War Games?
Oh,
this is the same screenplay writers as War Games. I thought it was really well written.
It is a good script for sure. It's proud of how uncool and how middlebrow it is, and I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it is very light. I mean, there's no. You know that everybody in that team is going to survive. Yeah. There's going to be no casualties. Of course, Ben Kingsley is great in a supporting role as Robert Redford, Bishop's hacking buddy from back in the day, Cosmo. I think he's really good. Yeah. James Horner's score. I mean, it's just textbook James Horner. Really, it sets the scene. It can be very it match well with really over the top tense kind of sequences, or it could be rompy like a boy's adventure when it needs to be. The stakeout scene felt like a Benny Hill sketch. Quite like that. They're staking out.
They went to the couple. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It is cheesy, but it's very hard not to love it. Although I will say, I think in one sense it's actually quite prescient, and in another it's actually quite contemporary. First off, it's a film in which everyone's questioning about who should have access to, quote, the information, who should be allowed to view it, how involved should we be in that process. We are asking those questions every day today, so I think it's quite prescient in that sense. It's a bit of set dressing. It's empty. It's not. This isn't a film about that. It's kind of a bit of flavour that they add in, which is quintessentially what Hollywood do. They try and they build a piece of fluffy entertainment off the back of something that could make an interesting film. But I do think that's prescient, and I think it's contemporary in the sense that it's a film that is filled with loads of little moments of empty political grandstanding, little digs. So at the end, there's a news broadcast where the newsreader says Amnesty International, Greenpeace and the United Negro College Fund have had record donations made. And they're
quite unsucking at the end.
Yeah. And then he also says the Republican Party has just gone bust. They said they had loads of money yesterday, but it's all gone. I found myself thinking, first of all, if the Republican Party did go bust, those coffers would be filled again in seconds because the richest people on the planet support the Republican Party. I don't think it could ever possibly go bust anyway. But in terms of the film, it's kind of like they took a piss on the film because this chip that they spent the whole film searching for, James Earl Jones thinks he's getting it at the end of the film. It turns out Robert Redford didn't give it to him. So they kept hold of it. And then they went and gave a load of money to Amnesty International, Greenpeace and the United Negro College Fund and bankrupted the Republican Party. The people that still wanted to kill them for that chip, what happened to them? Did they just, were they not... I mean, he told James L. Jones, Robert Redford says to James L. Jones at the end, it doesn't work. But there are lots of people in the story who know that it does work and they wanted to kill them for it minutes, hours before. Is Ben Kingsley just not going to try and did they destroy it after they did what they did? How could they prove that? Would that prevent them from being killed? This is the ultimate, hold on a second, what ending of any movie ever, because they're also not going to, you know, they made that deal where they I want a Winnebago, I want a City Poitier wants to take it, they're not going to get that stuff. It's a kind of petty, like, if you could condense a shot of Robert Redford standing, arms folded, one eye up, smoking, and going, that is what that scene is. And I'm thinking, if this played out...
More for you!
If this played out as I would imagine it would, they'd do that, they'd bankrupt the Republican Party.
They'd get killed.
They'd get killed.
Yeah, but that would have been a great ending.
That's right.
All of them fucking had been sniped.
Just they're getting taken out one by one. That's so today. I reckon there'll probably be 3 or 4 films made this year that have kind of like, which is it's just empty grandstanding for no reason. But aside from stuff like that, it's one of those films that takes something very complicated, makes it very simple, and delivers
and
it.
boils it down for the mass market.
And it's very, very skillfully done. Yeah. It was a bit of a treat going back to this, and I still think it's a very, very enjoyable... I mean, it's just a crowd pleaser, isn't it?
It's a slick production.
Yeah.
It's a really great bunch of characters who are teamed up. They play off each other really well. As mentioned earlier, especially Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier. But also, special mention should be to Dan Aykroyd as the conspiracy theory nut.
It's funny that back then that was a very, very sweet, endearing, lovable guy. Oh God, the bloody conspiracy theory guy. I don't think I was thinking
that would play out.
Exactly. I was like, you couldn't paint him as this lovable rogue now.
No. Fun fact.
Yeah.
The computer in Cosmo's office, the one that looks like a circular bench, is actually a Cray Y-MP, which is a multi-million-dollar supercomputer, one of the world's fastest computers when the film was made, which probably means it had the processing power of an Amiga 500 plus.
Yeah, I bet, okay, that's interesting. I suppose at least they wanted to have some sort of...
verisimilitude.
There you go. There are a couple of bits that I remember, as a kid, I remember finding very, very annoying, that are still annoying today.
I know what you're going to talk about.
Oh, go on.
Is it just really ridiculous? Just filmic conceits like, oh, that's just a bit lucky that fucking happened, or
oh no, I mean, you have to turn a blind eye to shit like that.
There's a scene where he's shooting through the. He manages to be in the exact place at the right time.
Yeah. I mean, I always am happy. I mean, movies just do that stuff, and if you're enjoying it, and I was enjoying this, I don't. You can certainly pick holes in it that way, but one thing that bothered me when I was a kid, and it still bothers me now, and I remember it used to wind me up as a kid, when Mary McDonnell's on that date with Stephen Tobolowsky, she's trying to get the details, the last word she needs is passport. Ask anything. Oh, I'm going away. I've got to remember, what have I got to say? I've got to say my luggage, anything. Don't just say, do you know what really turns me on when men say passport to me? There's got to be a better way.
It's lazy.
Yeah, it's so weird how I still was just like, just ask anything, please. Just don't just say what turns me on is the word passport. It's a surefire way to get caught. Answer me this. At one point in the movie, Robert Redford has a realisation and he tips the Scrabble board over to stop piecing together, C-Tech astronomy. He starts building it to try and figure out what it's an anagram of. Who was winning that game of Scrabble when he did that?
Fuck knows.
he must. He was. Yeah. Well, no one said anything. He tipped. If you go to a party, play Scrabble and tip the board and put all the pieces on, there's going to be a fucking uproar. Unless he was spanking everyone so badly it was ridiculous, or was it just bad direction on the? I mean, it's one of the two. That's a priceless observation from me. Yeah, I suppose one thing you could say about this film was that whenever you're dealing with entertainment like this, you have to take into account how sophisticated audiences are now in comparison to then. So the best way I can illustrate that is there's a scene where they're searching for Ben Kingsley's base. They're searching for the bad guy's base, essentially, and they're looking at a map, and River Phoenix says, there's something there, there's something there. What's over there? Oh, just private property. There's a pause of about 4 or 5 seconds where they suddenly all look at each other and go, oh, shit. private property, and then they go and then realise that's where the base is. In a film made today, that gap would be a second long. So there's a lot of instances where you I felt like I was ahead of it because of where films are now.
Spinning the wheels.
So just...
the uptake wasn't as quick as it would be in modern film.
Yeah, normally... filmmakers know how sophisticated audiences are. You can't fool them or take their lack of a desire almost to be one step ahead. So I suppose if you were going to revisit this film, you have to be aware that you are going to be sitting there thinking,
It's 1992.
3.
Oh, 3.
I think it came out in 93 over here. I think it was 93 both, but it's a good film. I like it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's like a Sunday afternoon film.
It really is a Sunday afternoon film. Yeah. Perfect. But I think it still holds up really well.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, on to the next.
Let's move on to the next one. We are looking at Hackers from 1995, directed by Iain Softley. After a prodigious and once infamous hacker is framed for the theft of millions of corporate dollars, he joins forces with his high school peers in order to take down a middle-aged man on a skateboard who calls himself the Plague. Hackers.
Hidden beneath the world we know is the world they inhabit.
Dave?
Yeah, Mom?
What are you doing?
I'm taking over a TV network.
Well, finish up, honey, and get to sleep.
They're hackers.
Hackers penetrate and ravage private and publicly owned computer systems.
Hack the planet! Hack the planet!
It's not just something they do.
Sure this sweet machine's not going to waste?
Are you challenging me?
It's who they are.
I win, you wear a dress on our date.
And if I win, so do you.
They can crack any code. And get inside any system.
Hello? Mr. Gill, according to our records, you're dead.
What?
But this time...
Come here, look at this.
It's some kind of virus.
Unless $5 million is transferred to the following account, I will capsize 5 oil tankers.
They just hacked the wrong guy.
Game's over.
Whoever wrote this needs somebody to take the fall.
He's about to commit the perfect computer crime.
You've created a virus that's going to cause a worldwide disaster?
And they're about to take the blame.
A hacker planted the virus. But it's the perfect cover.
We're being framed.
Can we be allies? I don't play well with others.
Oh, wow, we are fried.
Okay, let's nail it.
No.
You're not good enough to beat me. Yeah, maybe I'm not. But we are.
They're the only ones who can prevent a catastrophe.
I know how to stop this guy. They'll trace you like that.
Are you nuts? Come at me!
Unlike any the world has ever seen.
Never send a boy to do a woman's job.
Hackers of the world unite.
Cops on the building.
I need more time. This is the end, my friend.
United Artists welcomes you to the new world.
Okay, so Hackers from 1995. I had never seen this film before, was very aware of it, never seen it. How about you?
Very aware of it, had never seen it.
Okay.
I was really surprised you haven't seen it either. I thought I was like one of the few people who had not seen Hackers.
No, I don't know why I saw it. I was in the target demographic for this film and I never saw it.
Yeah, same here.
I'm not sure. But okay, so...
And in fucking trailer, I just remember the fucking trailer.
What, Relentlessly?
Oh, Relentlessly.
Videos, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, how was it? 2019, Hackers?
So, Jonny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie. Jonny Lee Miller, this was like a precursor before he obviously had, global breakout success with portraying Sick Boy in Trainspotting.
Yep.
Jonny Lee Miller is like, you would not fucking guess he was anything but American. Like, he's one of those rare English actors that can pull off an American accent.
I think it was a little bit sketchy here, but definitely for a guy of his age, I think he's I definitely think. I mean, now when you hear him doing an American accent, it's faultless. But I definitely think in comparison to most of his peers, especially at that age, it's pretty damn solid.
I think the opening 10 minutes are fucking great. Like, lively, energetic, slickly edited. I was like, fuck, what's this going to be like? Is this going to be amazing? Is this going to be...
There's actually one of the opening... I think it's one of the first shots in the film. There's that lovely joke where they're panning across the courtroom. Yeah. And then they pan down and it's that little kid. I was like, that's a really nice...
Yeah.
really nice choice.
Yeah. All of that, it's flashy and the imagery is really seductive. Really cool. Zooming into, small kind of fucking the whole thing of when the hack is taking place, you're going into those switchboards, all the technology. I was like, this is fucking wicked. And then we're introduced to more characters, empty, over-the-top caricatures. Not characters, they're over-the-top caricatures. And so much teen bonding over technical babble got really boring, really fucking quick. What's your initial take on it?
I had a very mixed reaction to this film. I know a lot of people think they see this as a bad film. I think in some quarters this is just like
it's
like just a
turkey.
But it is very aware of itself, and there are moments of humour. I think it's best looked at as a comedy because there's a lot of actual. There's some really good jokes in it, and I think Iain Softley brings such a weird touch to it. And there's little bits where I just think, well, that's a really nice directorial choice. For example, there's a scene where Fisher Stevens and Lorraine Bracco, like towards the end of the film, that's the villain and his. I mean,
they're fucking.
We'll get to them in a moment. But there's a moment where they're celebrating, and then the scene seems to end, and they just stare at each other.
They're drinking champagne.
And they just start giggling, and then they scurry off, and I'm like, they're going to go and have sex. That's a really nice little bit that they would any other. You would have just cut the scene. There's loads of eccentric little moments like that kind of give it more of a.
Yeah, there is. I agree. There's another point when one of the guy hackers is being arrested. His mum's kicking the shit out of him. He's like, fucking arrest me!
That's a really good scene as well. I think it's best looked at as a comedy. One thing that I will say about this film, in comparison to Sneakers, it's night and day. There is no suspense in this film whatsoever. I didn't even know entirely what the stakes were in the finale when they were amping things up. And I was like, I'll be honest. I've paid pretty strict attention to this film, and I'm not 100% sure about what the fuck is going on. And there's no suspense in it.
I think some warships were involved.
They get capsized. I'm interested to know because at that point, now that's something that could conceivably happen. We are completely enslaved by our reliance on computers. That wasn't the case in 1995, was it? So is this set in the near future? They never established that, really, do they? But then again, like Sneakers, it's kind of prescient like that. It completely foresaw how ridiculously we are fucked without computers.
Yeah. Well, and also the power of hackers, though, with what's been happening, with Sony getting completely smoked by hackers, and how much power that they sort of seemingly can wield.
That's another thing that, like the way Sneakers threatens to have something, a compelling argument or something compelling under the surface. There's scenes of the police in this talking amongst each other, and they think that the hackers are just terrorists, and they think that hacking somehow is akin to communism, which is a bit of a leap. It doesn't touch upon these things. It's like Hackers. It's a Hollywood movie, and there's a couple of things we think, oh, where's that going? It's not going anywhere. It's as thin as Sneakers, but I don't necessarily think that's a criticism because that's just I'd be criticising Hollywood as an entity if I started doing that.
The music soundtrack is the best thing about this film.
It's
got a fantastic soundtrack. Prodigy, Underworld, Orbital. It's just perfect for this kind of subject matter. Pulsating tribal rhythms, loads of house, early hardcores in there, some electronica. It's a great soundtrack.
If I was going to sort of chuck a complaint as well, it's kind of like now that's what I call 1995 because every song in it is a huge hit. I knew every song on the soundtrack, but that was a point at which record labels were convinced that was going to break in America, so they put. I don't know how well this soundtrack sold in America, but I remember it being huge over here. And then there was music inspired by Hackers, and then there was music inspired by Hackers Volume 2. So there was it was permanently in record shops when I was a kid. So but if I was to chuck a criticism this way, they've picked the most obvious, voodoo people.
Big bangers. It's fucking big bangers from all of those acts.
They're all. It's a terrific soundtrack.
Yeah, which is great to hear them cut to picture. Yeah. And they cut to picture really well. The story is uncompelling. This is the issue with it. It becomes a longed out game of who has the disc. Yeah, that's what it becomes.
Yeah, totally.
The film's strengths are an energetic young cast, as we just said, great soundtrack, super slick editing, and decent production design. The interior scenes of that psychedelia nightclub. The psychedelia nightclub, which is like the Hackers nightclub. Yeah. Right. So the interiors were filmed in Brentford public baths in London. The exterior was filmed in downtown Manhattan, but all the interiors were in an abandoned London public baths in Brentford.
It shows how the illusion of cinema can. I didn't even think. I assumed that was something
in the States.
Yeah. I did. I think the reason this is kind of a true cult film is that they took a more difficult route in that they wanted a lack of CG. Iain Softley didn't want computed graphics, so when it's also an attempt to make it cinematic, because back then the idea of anything computer related being cinematic was impossible. So when they're filming those weird swooping shots through.
Have you not seen the Dire Straits music videos?
They stand out really well. But making them physical, I think that's very.
I think that was a good call.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah. But it's strange that back then there was always these weird attempts to try and make something cinematic that they thought could never be cinematic. But if you take any single scene from The Social Network, it wasn't a problem to solve, but it's interesting looking at it now from that perspective. Yeah. You didn't like the peripheral players then, you didn't like the rest of the crew, because I felt that Jonny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie, this is kind of their first big film, really.
I didn't buy that relationship.
No, well, they got married afterwards, didn't they?
Well, but their off-screen relationship was more compelling than their on-screen relationship.
I feel like these two performances are like most young actors when they get like something akin to a first big break. Yeah. They don't want to overact, but they don't want to be too expressive. So they're stuck in this netherworld. I feel like most young actors debuting these. If you go and look at any successful actor, they always start in this. They're not inexpressive, but they're not acting.
I would say that's pretty damn true.
Yeah.
I was just thinking Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. But on the other hand, I thought the peripheral players were really good. I mean,
What's His Chops is very good. Oh. The guy from Scream.
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
They could have written that part for him.
He is fucking great.
He plays essentially himself, I believe. Yeah. But they could have written that part for him, and that's what you want. I thought Lawrence Mason and Renoli Santiago were really fucking good as the other hackers. I thought they were the good performances.
They just weren't given anything for their characters, though.
I thought that's why I think they're great, because they bring stuff. It's also, I think the best performance in it is Wendell Pierce, who's Bunk from The Wire, is the FBI always police, the guy that's pursuing them. He creates a character out of fucking nothing.
Yeah. Is he in The Wire?
He's
I've never seen The Wire.
Have you not?
No.
Okay, I mean, he's terrific in that, needless to say. But without him, I don't think this would go down anywhere near as smoothly. He's really fucking great. And I think it's the peripheral players that make it. Angelina Jolie and Jonny Lee Miller, if I could never be a talent scout in Hollywood, I'd be like, they seem like the fucking same as everyone else, because they're not really...
Well, but Angelina Jolie looks... pretty. Don't forget
actually,
looking at her. I mean,
she's basically like a space alien.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the peripheral players were much more
compelling than the two leads.
For sure. Yeah.
I tell you who wasn't compelling is Stevens and Bracco as the cartoony villains. I mean, they both stink up the screen in two very hammy performances.
Yeah, I mean, I felt genuinely sorry. I felt sorry for Lorraine Bracco. We often talk about actors looking embarrassed. She looked so embarrassed.
She didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be there.
I mean, I felt terrible for her, and it's annoying that it must have been annoying for her. She's introduced as the villain, and then it turns out she's basically an exposition spouting girlfriend of a bad guy. And if I was her, I'm sure she must have thought, I'm a woman, I'm a grown-ass woman. There is no fucking way I'd be involved in a love affair with a middle-aged man who fucking rides a skateboard. There's no fucking way. But yeah, fluff is the word. It's a confection. It's I didn't dislike it. To be honest, I think this is actually, if you look at it, there's a million different ways you can look at it, in which every way it's a failure. I think it's a bad film in some ways. The director rescues it to a degree. Some of the performances rescue it to a degree. I think the script has some really, really smart moments in it. But the finale, my enthusiasm and interest just started to wane. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It looks nice.
But it ramps up to they have that kind of... that scene where they're all doing their part, they're all doing, they're all bluffing people, they're all like, okay, I've got it. That kind of happened. Then once again it was like, oh, where's the disc? We go over the disc. And by the time it got to that last 10 minutes of the battle between, Beardy Hacker and Sick Boy, I was like, oh, fuck it, I'm honestly, my modem's offline.
The stakes are
check some error.
The stakes are too fucking hazy.
Thin. What's going to happen? I was like, well, what happens if He doesn't. I mean, nothing really.
No,
I mean, there wasn't much consequence to what would have happened if it went the other way.
On that score, I think it's a failure. But I think at least it's unusual. At least it has a.
And it's got imagery. It's got. I mean, I think its strongest is how it looks, and the editing's really slick, and some of the production design's fucking good, and it's very on the surface. It's a surface level film.
Yeah,
dig any deeper, you'll be disappointed. But. You know,
you could say that about both of these films, but I was very happy at how unusual this was. It was actually quite a quirky film, and I don't mean that to be an insult, because I think I mean it in a good way. Another director could have made this, and it would have been fucking unwatchable, especially with a different cast. That would have been a shame. But there's nice actual jokes in it. There's some really good humour, and there's things in it that I look at that I think were played for laughs at the time that are now just like when you see Fisher Stevens in his living room with a VR headset. Back in the day, people have asked me, "Whoa, like that." That's never going to happen. As in, like, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Now that's just kind of normal. Yeah. So I liked it. I think it. I mean,
there's something quite nice about looking back at with a film that's all about technology in a kind of whimsical way. Like, look at them playing telephone tones down the phone to get free calls. I remember watching hacking documentaries in like the 90s, going like, I've got to do that. I've got to go to phone boxes and record the fucking thing on a dictaphone.
The best.
They get free porn. With your dial-up.
Get free porn?
Well, back in the day when porn wasn't just readily available. Right. Go down this fucking down this rabbit hole. Right. But back in the day, like we're going back to like when porn was porn just wasn't readily available online, and you'd be like, "Fuck!" I remember watching hacking documentaries. We go, you could just hack into these like porn sites and get all the porn.
But could you do that?
Yeah, they were interviewing these guys.
Oh right, I thought you said it's something you used to do.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The closest thing I ever got to hacking is that when I used to be hanging out with my friends on the streets, you'd lose track of time because none of us had watches, and we used to go to the payphone and pick up the operator and say, "Hi operator, what time is it?" And they'd say, they'd get annoyed that I'm not telling you the time. Like, fuck off, they wouldn't tell you the time. So you pick up the phone and say, "Hello there, before we begin, have you got the time please?" And they tell you the time. Bang! Now that's a hack. That's a hack. Okay, all right. Well, in terms of
whack.
In terms of picking a winner for this, where are we going?
It's Sneakers.
It is Sneakers. Yeah. That's a classic.
Pretty conclusive.
Yeah, it's a classically made piece of Hollywood movie making, confident and very very entertaining throughout. All my quibbles didn't derail it, whereas I had quibbles about hackers that made me. They were a bit more of a problem.
No, I thought Sneakers is just a better film all round.
Yeah.
It's better written. It's better executed.
Yeah.
It's just a polished film.
Yeah.
It's great. I enjoyed it. Whereas Hackers is like, it tested my patience really. Even though it has its moments, has a great pulsating soundtrack. It's just bogged down in techno babble and. Kind of.
I think it just loses sight.
Faux team bonding.
The plot gets.
It just gets derailed.
Soup. It just the plot, and you're just watching it kind of going, I don't know what's going on.
It's just not. It's not engaging. The narrative isn't that engaging, which is a shame because it could have been something better if there was just more purpose to the end goal.
Yeah, it's wishy-washy and it's. But I didn't dislike it, and but I will say we've said this multiple times. But if you weren't alive when Hackers came out, don't even bother.
No.
If you were, then you'll probably find quite a bit to enjoy. And Angelina Jolie just looks like
she looks like an age. She's so young as well. Like so young in this, and so did Jonny Lee Miller. It's great to see them. It's just sort of the start of their careers.
Yeah, even though they don't give memorable performances, but then again, I think that's part and parcel with every decent actor, to be honest. Almost every decent actor. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Sneakers is the winner. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Check out our social channels and YouTube and all that stuff. If you've got a suggestion for us, chuck it our way, and we will do an episode on it at some point. We will see you again. Take it easy. Goodbye.
Cult film Face-Off.
All right, have we had any correspondence on these two?
Yes, we have had some correspondence. Rob Campbell. I loved Hackers when it came out. Obviously, it hasn't aged well, so one has to keep it in context for when it was released.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's a fair comment. Iain Loader, Hackers.
Really?
Yeah. Brendan Brino Devereaux, Sneakers. Well said.
Yeah.
Al Winter, Sneakers.
All the headlines. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is Sneakers, and it's a mostly entertaining mix of high technology, computer larceny, with the old action formula of a gang of misfits conquering the establishment. Robert Redford plays a computer expert who heads a private agency of disaffected tech wizards who make a precarious living as security consultants. They are hired by a mysterious American government agency to find a special computer program that can break any code and give its owner power over all of the world's stored information. Timothy Busfield from TV's 30-something says he's with the National Security Agency.
We protect our government's communications. We try to break the other fellow's codes. We're the good guys, Marty.
Gee, I can't tell you what a relief that is, Dick.
Also on Redford's team, Dan Aykroyd is an overweight nerd, and David Strathern as a blind man with, naturally, super sensitive hearing.
What did it sound like?
More team members include high-powered actor Sidney Poitier. It's a pleasure to see him back in a movie. And Mary McDonnell from Dances with Wolves. They get nervous when they find the mysterious computer program.
What? There isn't a government on this planet that wouldn't kill us all for that thing.
Somehow the valuable program winds up in the hands of Ben Kingsley, a computer mastermind. His character is wildly overdrawn. He's supposed to be brilliant, but his plan is ridiculous, and his role in Sneakers is one of its weaker elements.
I might even be able to crash the whole damn system.
Sneakers is more fun, interesting enough, the more technical it gets, with the gang trying to break into a bank early in the picture and later into Ben Kingsley's evil fortress. I just wish the bad guys were worse in this picture, and I could do without some of the preachy dialogue from writer-director Phil Alden Robinson, whose previous film was Field of Dreams. But nevertheless, because of the technical excitement, a marginal thumbs up from me on Sneakers.
Marginal thumbs down for me. I did like some of the scenes in the movie. I didn't feel the technical excitement was really all that exciting. It didn't seem to me to get into the guts of computer warfare the way that a movie like War Games did. And I had two other objections. The team has too many players, each one obviously chosen in order to be a different member of that World War II platoon that we always talk about. Right. And second, the ending of this film, I don't want to give anything away, but a guy knows exactly where to be in order to fall through the roof in order to attack someone, and another guy knows that he's there, and there's no way that the first guy could have known where to be or that the second guy would know that he was there. It's absolutely contrived.
The ending of the picture is not very good.
But ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But the entry into the fortress is well done, and there are other things along the way. Also, I think the technical excitement of seeing stuff played out on a video screen.
Yeah, but Gene, you don't know anything about computers, or you would know that all you see is some gobbledygook, and then it turns into the message, and they say, "Oh wow, it decoded it." It doesn't really show anything.
Well, no. What I'm talking about is you search a frame of the image, no matter what it's showing. It was like in the movie, the Tom Clancy novel recently we had, Patriot Games, where you watched a murder as on screen. It's a different experience than what we're normally seeing in terms of action, and I appreciated just the difference of seeing it played out big. It doesn't have to make so much sense as to be different.
Okay, next movie is